I told him I was finished. I told him that it ended with me. Maybe I spoke falsely. I can still feel it churning within me. I haven't slept this week. My nights are filled with wakeful nightmares where I'm roaming that endless wasteland. I know there isn't a plot to find, and yet the Commissar still waits for me. Last night he tormented me with the shrieks of fanboys. I saw him again at the end of that dark corridor, and from that wretched maw they came forth.
Oh my god, you have such an annoying voice.
Enjoy it for what it is.
Ew.
The couch is dirty. They kept the plot simple so that newcomers could enjoy it.
I know now what I must do. To conquer my enemy within, I must review Damnatus. What is your fucking problem, people? I reamed that movie from the standpoint of a fanboy, but instead of appreciating the satire, I get message after message from nitwits telling me that I should be happy for what I got, and for the first 40K movie, it wasn't that bad. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the opinions of the ignorant. Some societies have people called sin eaters, people who commit horrible acts in order to prevent worse ones from occurring. The 40K fanbase, however, has people who consume horrible products and media in order to continue their proliferation. These people are called the shit eaters. Ultramarines was not the first Warhammer 40K movie, nor will it be the last. It deserves to waste away into the perils of the warp for what it represents to the Warhammer community, and yet, due to the pricks at Games Workshop PR and legal team, the daft and confused will always think of this when they think of the first 40K movie. This is not the case. Damnatus, Enemy Within was released 2 years before the travesty that is Ultramarines. Never heard of it? There's a very good reason. Writer and director Juan Vu, along with the rest of the production team, intended this to be a free-to-view fan-made movie for the fans of Warhammer 40,000. Now the hiccup comes from the fact that because this movie was not intended for the retail market in Germany, it would end up in the public domain. Get your fingers off the keyboard, I am not done yet! First of all, it would only be in the German public domain. Second of all, nothing was in the way of Games Workshop from purchasing the rights of Damnatus and releasing it under their own name, thereby protecting their IP and making a profit off the hard work of its fans. Instead, our money-grubbing friends lost their shit and after a legal battle prevented any sort of release of the Damnatus movie. 2 years later, they came up with their own answer to the situation, Ultramarines. I've already talked enough about that fucking movie, however, so let's shift gears to the actual subject of this video, Damnatus, Enemy Within. This is a movie made for the fans of Warhammer 40K by the fans of Warhammer 40K. Unfortunately, this also has the double edge of being a crutch for this movie, since due to its troubled production and low budget yet great heart, Damnatus is nearly impossible to judge on its own merits. Not gonna stop me from trying, though. The movie starts off with this gruff opening narration explaining the backstory of Warhammer 40K. Much again taken from the Tom Baker intro while showing some very impressive computer graphics as well as some great composite shots. The biggest problem with this opening narration is that it seems to be for the purpose of allowing people with no familiarity in the setting to become accustomed to it. As you keep watching the movie, however, you'll realize how retarded it is for them to do that, since they make so many references to the inner fluff that only a die-hard fan is going to understand what in the fuck is going on and why it should be intriguing. Not to say that's a bad thing, however. Like I said, this is a movie made for the fans of Warhammer 40K, so the writers can make whatever reference they like to the fluff, since they are well aware of their target audience. The first character we're introduced to is this Inquisitor by the name of Lessus. Inquisiting, I guess. We also get a very nice scene where he gets a transmission from a brother captain who tells him that due to the Eldar interfering, they are not able to assist the Inquisitor. It's mainly scenes like this that put this film legions ahead of Ultramarines. They show, not tell. It's the simplest and most important rule of filmmaking. After that message, Lessus' fleet officer then... Okay, what is up with that guy's collar? Captain, his levels of douche cannot go any higher! 1,000,000 points for being able to do this with a straight face tells the Inquisitor that they have just arrived at Sanctum Heroica. However, the Inquisitor speaks stout as he draws from his Imperial Tarot. Before we get to see the results of his divination, however, We cut to some robed guy in one of the hive cities in Sancta Heroica, hide around a corner and inject himself with a syringe labeled polymorphine beta. This somehow caused him to put on 4 million pounds, and also doubles as being his only character trait. Everyone after this point is going to remember him as the fat guy for the whole story because the editing makes the mistake of introducing his character trait before his name. Lardo here then walks into this mechanicum facility guarded by 2 robed men. No idea what's going on yet? That's normal. Please continue. The story starts improper when we're introduced to 2 of the main characters, Osmar, a guardsman of the PDF, and Nira, a sanctioned psyker. They enter this parking garage littered with CGI effects reminiscent of that fucking frog from Return of the Jedi, and meet up with the rest of our party. Here we have this gruff Ketachan, who from now on will be known as Guardsman Marbo, as well as 2 hive gangers, No Name and No Act. The only one who's going to stick out is Octavian, since partially because his tech priest character was given the most attention during the start of the story, and also because Osmar here says his name in such an awesome way. At this point in the movie, most die-hard fans will probably realize that this film is based around any classic Dark Heresy session. Don't know what Dark Heresy is? You're probably among the camp that liked Ultramarines then. Not that this is a problem, however. Any 40k fan worth his salt knows that over half of the original fluff was written by Andy Chambers' own campaigns and roleplay sessions. Probably also why the fluff didn't reek of petrified donkey anus at the time. I digress. We meet the party in full as they wait for the tech priest to unlock a door. The movie uses this time wisely as Osmar gives a short briefing to the party, saying they have been deigned by the Inquisition to investigate a cult that has formed on the lower levels. Unfortunately, this is followed by another mistake on the editor's part, as we hold way too long on the scene in the elevator. Normally I would blow my gasket in the same way I did in that other movie, but I'm letting it slide now for 2 reasons. First, being that the party having to travel to the lower levels is actually a realistic restriction of the setting, as opposed to the film giving some throwaway reason. Second, being that it serves to add to the depth and atmosphere of the Hive City. Thankfully, the silence is broken by Noak, who asks Osmar what they should be expecting.
Angesichts der Kampfkraft dieser zusammengestellten Strafeinsatzgruppe kann es sich lediglich schlecht ausgerüstete Aufrührer handeln.
Ooh, apply cold water to burn. One thing you're also going to notice though is that although the CGI isn't that great, this movie has really pretty composite shots, which brings loads of flashbacks to the Warhammer classic, Final Liberation. I feel that at this point in the movie, the CGI really tries to distract and take you out of the movie. What do you think, Colt? Oh. Ow!
Commissar Holt!
Sorry, Commissar Holt. It's just that parts of this movie look so bad that you're just left wondering as to why.
Choose your next words with exceptional care.
Of course, Commissar. After all, this movie is made with an incredibly small budget featuring almost no studio backing. And the movie was released free to the market. It would be folly to judge it on commercial standards. Phew! There are also a couple of really good character interaction scenes, like this one between the tech priest and the psyker, and this scene later where No Name and the psyker are talking. He mentions to her that at one point he was saved by an alien race, and they gave him an amulet to protect him. He says that it helps ward off evil, and hands it over to the psyker to prevent her from having the visions that have been confusing and annoying the viewer since the start of the movie. This also helps give the setting in this film a lot more depth, as more than just the chaos I mentioned is existing in this universe. As much as I praise the characters, however, Marbo here is so one-note that he almost drowns out everyone else. This guy chews the scenery harder than Jesse Ventura from Predator.
Bunch of slap-jawed faggots around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
We also learn that Osmar has been sending messages to Inquisitor Lessis based on the progress of the party. He then panics when he notices the party is split up.
Sie sollten doch warten.
Hey, I would too if I was the DM. That shit makes it so much harder. Turns out the 3 badasses of the party already formulated their own plan, using quick wit and quicker reflexes to assassinate the door guards and make their way into the Manufactorum. They have a short discussion where they decide the job is done and want to cower back up to the upper levels. Get used to this, folks. Half the dialogue in this movie are these bloody cowards talking about how they're gonna give up and take their ball home. At the behest of Osmar, the group decides to proceed deeper into the hive. Noack refuses to think this through carefully and ignores using his knock ability on the door. Whoa! Yes! You can watch this scene as many times as you like and it'll still be as awesome every time you do. There is just so much awesome stuff going on. Each of the characters gets to show off their special skills. No Name uses sweet swordplay, Noack blasts the cultists right in the eyes, the Tech Priest uses his power axe to slay cultists left and right, and Guardsman Marbo treats fans to the first realistic depiction of the bolter since Tau Fire Warrior, firing off bolt by bolt and nuking these subhuman scum. The Tech Priest also treats us to the crowning moment of awesome in this film, and I respect it so much that I can't even describe it. Just watch. Things get more and more intense as the cultists bring out the big guns. This pair here bring out a bazooka and fire it right up Marbo's ass. Ooh! Oh god. He's dead. Nope, he's fine, just a little bit shell-shocked. Ladies and gentlemen, the benefits of Bowflex. Realizing that our heroes are explosion-proof, another pair take out a heavy stubber and lay waste to the hall. This guy is just having way too much fun shooting this thing. It's almost infectious. The hail of ammunition forces our heroes to retreat, and with one last act of badassery, Marbo throws a demo charge and Noack blows it up in midair, sealing them from the fight. At this point, I'd like to make a sincere apology if you've been getting annoyed at me calling the ganger pair No Name and No Act. Their actual names are Hieronymus VI von Remus and Sergeant Chorus. The costume design made a huge mistake in this instance. Since these two have essentially the same role in the party, dressing them in the same way makes it supremely difficult to tell them apart. I wouldn't have even gone on this tangent, but even in my own notes I mixed these two up, and I've seen this movie 3 times! Just for your own reference, Sergeant Chorus always has this card in his vest. Now that we got that out of the way, the characters proceed a little bit further and fire prematurely as another robed figure exits a room. However, the figure flashes an Elect 2 to identify himself as part of the Inquisition. It's little details like these that really help you feel in the character's shoes. Of course they were firing on an unknown figure, they just came out of a brutal fight with men wearing the same robes. Plus the Elect 2 is also a nice touch. So Subway here tells him that he's an agent of the Inquisition and that he has disguised himself as a wealthy supporter of the cult. He tells him that he has discovered that the cult is attempting to summon some sort of a demon, which our party meets with the same response that they always do. Man, it's a good thing that the sets in this movie are half decent, or Marbo wouldn't have anything to chew.
Das Milchgesicht will also den Helden spielen, ja?
Milksop. That's a good one. That'll be Osmar's name from now on. We cut to some more cute establishing shots as the crew make their way through the abandoned manufactorum, giving some exposition and character development on the way. Unlike that other movie, this is followed by another properly executed fan moment as Noack pulls out his lucky charm and uses it to choose the way. Not only is this tying together this movie's theme of chance and fate, but movie buffs will also note this as a nice little nod to Kurosawa's Yojimbo. Wait a second, did I just say theme? As in an overarching message that ties the whole film together without being part of the story? Hard to believe, I know. Remember the theme of Ultramarines? Me either, because there wasn't one. The film then cuts to Lardo, who is seen having a meeting with the cultist leader named Maccabeus, who in a very interesting twist turns out to be a radical inquisitor, seeking to summon and chain a demon into his service, and by doing so venerate himself in the eye of the Emperor. This is doubly awesome for 2 reasons. One being that it's a cool nod to demon hosts in the fluff, and the fact that regardless of how depraved their actions are, radical inquisitors always believe they're doing right in the service of the Emperor. Anyways, back to the story.
Da war die Kloake auch am stärksten kontaminiert. Ja, da gab's anständige Ratten.
I like this guy. So our heroes come upon the Renegade Inquisitor's ritual, and this is when the movie starts to get a little bit drunk. Milksop loses his shit and opens fire before the group can deliberate on how to stop the ritual. Shit starts to hit the fan as the ritual gets interrupted, and the cultists begin blasting our heroes with orange juice. Ah, no, we can't handle its pulpy goodness. The Psyker then decides she's had enough of these googly effects and...
Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn! Treacherous as the sea! Stronger than the foundations of the earth! All shall love me and death!
What should be a cool battle of the wits turns out to be the biggest turd down your throat this movie will ever put, as the sound effects in the background of the scene seem to imply that during all this confusion, the heroes blast off the remaining cultists. As Noak prepares to blow off Macadamia Nuts' face, the Inquisitor pulls off his mask and... Just kidding, it would have been awesome though. During their retreat we find out that Octavian has somehow died off camera. We're gifted to one last scene with him as Nonheim vows to take his engrams back to Mars. Good night, sweet prince. You will live on forever in our memories.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your
To cover their retreat, Octavian uses up his last ounce of badass to detonate his body and take the last few cultists with him. We cut back to Dunkin' Donuts freaking the fuck out. The movie seems to imply that he's somehow being tainted by chaos by these weird-ass flashes reminiscent of Space Odyssey, while we are treated to repeat viewings of Sauron's asshole after a curry. Personally, I think he's suffering some sort of sickness related to his diabetes, as he takes out his box again and looks at his syringe like it's the last Twinkie left on Earth. The editing starts to make the viewer a little bit sick at this point. Everything has this bulbous red wash over it, and half the scenes are cut together so that you have no idea what in the fuck is going on. Perhaps this is intentional to make the viewer as insane as the party traveling in the depths. They realize that they're actually deeper than they thought. When once Milksop said that he was sure this hype had 69 depths precisely, this group finds himself on the 71st depth. Noak falls behind to try and retrieve an inexplicably wounded Milksop, and the party gets cut off from each other. In desperation for their escape, Noak tries to find an escape route using his lucky charm, but he's wickedly taunted as he makes his attempt. The number of Zinch, kinky. We cut back to the rest of the party as they make their way to the surface. Nera and No-Name find an endless stair in the basements of the Manufactorum, but No-Name tells her they must split ways. Dipshit Marbo has somehow wandered off on his own, for no reason or explanation other than the plot wills it, and now No-Name decides to leave Nera behind to go after him. They have one last touching scene with each other where they speak of sacrifice.
In diesem Universum wird man geopfert. Oder man opfert sich selbst.
In Wahrheit können wir nicht einmal über die Art unseres Todes frei entscheiden.
Meanwhile, the demon from the ritual has possessed Big Mac, who has come to make his vengeance from all the fat jokes earlier. He ominously paces the hallways of Manufactorum, reeking of such evil that even the corpses of the cultists shift to make way. Trapped in one of the many nondescript rooms with a gibbering Milksop, Noak decides he's gonna blast his way out. That's not a way a fragmentation of grenade works, but whatever. Hollywood has never been able to get them right anyways.
It's a bomb. Don't worry. You got around 2 minutes yet.
Milksop appears to have completely lost his shit at this point, mumbling maniacally as Noak tells him to pull himself together. At least he remembered to use his knock skill this time, and he hears the demon host on the other side of the door. Changing his mind, he changes the power on his las pistol so he can blow a hole in the opposing wall, all the while giving a cool pep speech to Milksop. Repeatedly lashing at us with Confuse Ray, however, the movie decides that Milksop and Noak need to die. Milksop mumbles some bullshit excuse about orders as he kills them both in yet another poorly edited scene. Cutting back to Guardsman Marbo, his vengeance for the scenery has reached critical mass. He starts seeing all sorts of creepy shit coming out of the walls and blasts away in terror at the horrors in the darkness. As his gun jams, Marbo takes his own life. No Name then comes upon the body of Marbo and ends up face to face with Ball Nuzzler, or whatever this demon's name is. He fruitlessly tries to attack him with his weeaboo stick, but the demon will have none of it. With raw force, he pins No Name to the wall and sucks out his fucking soul, Mortal Kombat style.
Your soul is mine.
Fatality. Bear with me, folks, I'm trying to get through this as quick as possible. All the characters we died about are done for, and the best action scene was over 40 minutes ago. Ball Nuzzler catches up with Mira and attempts to suck out her soul as well, telling her that he needs her in order to open up a gate to his realm so that he can take over Sancta Heroica without contest. He is foiled, however, by the Eldar artifact that No Name had given Mira at the start of the film. Realizing that he too is nearing the end of this mess, he decides that this is the best point for his vomit-like monologue. The camera has also gone full booze hound on us at this point, putting on so many filters over the scene that I think I too am getting a little contact high. Oh God, what am I doing here? This man's head looks like a flaming potato. My lips feel like cheeseburgers. This is fucking awesome! We learn that the Eldar had planned this far in advance, and that the amulet contains the soul of a powerful Eldar Farseer, willing to sacrifice what remains of her existence to seal off Ball Nuzzler. After Ball Nuzzler finishes his confusing and pointless ramble, I guess he wastes what's left of the Farseer in the Psyker. Cutting back to Inquisitor Lessus' cruiser, we see that he has detected massive psionic signatures on the planet, and has realized that despite his careful machinations, he has failed. He decrees Exterminatus on the planet, and we see the card he has drawn at the start of the film. Apocalypse. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One is either sacrificed or self-sacrifices, but with no choice in the matter. Haunting orchestral music is played as we see the last moments of the Sanctum's inhabitants. The entire planet is wiped clean of life, leaving another barren asteroid among the billions of stars that is the Imperium. We are treated to the final and most weighted of the Warhammer 40k's themes, that despite your efforts to eke and scratch your way to life, you will not be missed. It is truly a fitting ending for such a morose setting. So that was Damnatus, Enemy Within. I was really stumped as to what kind of opinion I would have after I first saw this, but after repeat viewings and discussions with friends, I've come to the deliberation that this movie is okay. That opinion is only on the movie's own merits, however. When one compares this film, then the filmmakers gently remind you at the end of the credits that this is, for the worldwide Warhammer community, an unofficial and non-profit fan movie project to the crapshoot that is Ultramarines. It is all of a sudden light years ahead of its time as a Warhammer movie. The script for the most part is excellent. The dialogue and characters, although stilted at times, are memorable. The movie has no plot holes that I was able to nitpick through my repeat viewings, which means that the writing holds up as well. Costume design and props are absolutely perfect. The only suffering this movie has is that the effects budget seemed to peter out about halfway through the film, treating us with some cringe-worthy computer graphics as well as some sickening camera filters. Yet still, after an hour and 40 minutes, I would still watch this over Ultramarines. For a movie that was made to fail by the greed of corporate, it really stands as a milestone in Warhammer filmmaking. Games Workshop had a reputable graphics studio, renowned Black Library writer Dan Abnett, the voice talents of John Hurt and Terrence fucking Stamp all come together 2 years after the unofficial release of Damnatus to squeeze out the most embarrassing and wasteful squander of skill since Orson Welles did commercials for fucking chicken fingers. On top of it all, they had the audacity, the temerity to charge you $40 for the special edition, whom you fucks haven't hesitated to let me know came with a graphics novel that contained info critical to the plot of that fucking story. Let me tell you something. If you have to spend $40 to halfway enjoy a 70-minute film, then you clearly need your mother to start managing your money again. That a fucking student art film is better than a legitimate commercial release with some of Britain's biggest stars tells you how fucked corporate is.
Hello, Stuart. There's blood everywhere. It is done.
Good. Good.